On March 26, 1997, police entered a luxury mansion in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in California. What they found inside stopped them cold. 39 people, all dead, all wearing identical black outfits. All wearing brand new Nike sneakers, still clean, never worn outside. No signs of struggle, no panic, no forced entry. They had all chosen this. Every single one of them believed, truly, deeply believed, that dying in that mansion was not an ending. It was a boarding call. Today we go inside Heaven's Gate, the cult that convinced 39 intelligent, educated, functioning adults that a UFO behind a comet was coming to take them to another world. And the one man who made them all believe it, his name was Marshall Applewhite. And this is how he did it. Marshall Applewhite was not a broken man. He was not uneducated. He was not living on the streets. He had a master's degree in music. He taught at a university. He had a promising career as a singer and a choir master. People who knew him described him as charming, intelligent, and deeply passionate. But in the early 1970 seconds, something inside him fractured. He lost his university job. His marriage fell apart. He began suffering from what he described as a spiritual crisis, a feeling that he did not belong to this world. In 1972, he met a nurse named Bonnie Nettles. She was into astrology, spiritualism, and mysticism. The two of them connected immediately, and together they began developing a belief system that would change both of their lives forever. Their core idea was simple and completely radical. They believed that human bodies were just temporary containers, that there was a level of existence beyond this one, a higher evolutionary state, and that extraterrestrial beings had come to Earth before to guide humanity toward that next level. They believed they themselves had been sent here, from another world, to deliver this message. Most people who heard this thought they were eccentric at best, delusional at worst. But some people, many people, listened. Applewhite and Nettles, who now called themselves Do and Ty, began holding meetings across America in the MID 1970s. They rented halls, put up flyers, and spoke to anyone who would listen. Their pitch was unlike anything people had heard before. They blended Christianity with science fiction. They quoted the Bible and then explained it through the lens of alien visitation. Jesus, they said, was not God in human form. He was an extraterrestrial being who came to show humans how to evolve beyond their physical bodies. And now Do and Ty were here to finish that mission. It sounds unbelievable. But here is what you need to understand. The people who joined Heaven's Gate were not stupid. Many of them were college educated. Several had professional careers. They were people who felt disconnected from the world, who were searching for something deeper, something that made the chaos of ordinary life feel meaningful. Applewhite gave them that. He gave them a family, a structure, a purpose, a destination. By the 1980 seconds, Heaven's Gate had dozens of committed members who had left their jobs, their families, and their previous lives to follow. Do completely. They lived communally. They dressed alike. They ate alike. They worked together building websites. Heaven's Gate was actually one of the first cults to have a fully operational website in the early internet era. From the outside, they seemed strange but harmless. Inside, the belief system was becoming more extreme by the year. In 1985, Bonnie Nettles, Ty, died of cancer. This was a crisis for the group. If Ty was supposed to be an evolved being from another world, how could she die from a disease? Applewhite reframed it immediately. He told his followers that Ty had simply moved on first, that she had left her container and was now waiting for them on the other side. His followers accepted this, and in accepting it, they accepted something far more dangerous, the idea that death was not a threat. Death was the goal. Through the late 1980 seconds and early 1990 seconds, Applewhite's teachings became increasingly focused on the body as an obstacle. He taught that human sexuality, human attachment, human emotion, all of it was holding his followers back from ascending to the next level. To demonstrate total commitment, Applewhite and several male members of the group voluntarily underwent surgical castration. They traveled to a doctor in Mexico who performed the procedure. 8 men total, including Applewhite himself, had the surgery done. They were not forced. They believed this was necessary. that removing physical desire was part of preparing themselves for what was coming. By 1996, Applewhite announced the final sign had appeared. The Hale-Bopp comet was approaching Earth. And according to Applewhite, a spacecraft was traveling right behind it, invisible to ordinary telescopes, sent specifically to collect Heaven's Gate members and bring them to the next level. All they had to do was exit their containers. All they had to do was die. The group rented a large luxury mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, one of the wealthiest communities in the United States. The house cost over $9,000 a month. They had saved money for this. They had planned this. Over 3 days, March 24th, 25th, and 26th of 1997, they carried out the suicides in small groups in careful shifts. Each person consumed a mixture of phenobarbital dissolved in applesauce and washed it down with vodka. After consuming the mixture, they lay down on their bunk or bed. Another member would then place a plastic bag over their head and secure it to ensure death from suffocation if the drug combination was not enough. Then the next group would go. It was methodical. It was orderly. There were no screams recorded, no signs of panic. Each person appeared to go willingly, calmly, believing they were simply changing vehicles. Every member wore the same black shirt, black sweatpants, and brand new Nike Decade sneakers, purchased specifically for this day. Each person had a $5 bill and quarters in their pocket, reportedly for the journey. Purple shrouds were laid over each body after death. When police entered on March 26th, they found all 39 bodies arranged neatly, faces covered, shoes pointing up toward the ceiling. Marshall Applewhite was among them. He had gone with his followers. But the autopsy revealed one final detail that no one expected. When investigators examined the bodies more carefully, they discovered something that had been hidden for years. Marshall Applewhite and 7 other male members of Heaven's Gate had been surgically castrated. Not recently, years before. The procedures had been done voluntarily, in secret, by a doctor in Mexico. Applewhite had convinced these men that removing their sexual organs was a necessary step in preparing their bodies and minds for the next level. That physical desire was the enemy of spiritual ascension. That to become something higher, they first had to remove what made them human. And they had agreed. These were not desperate people, not broken people. They were people who trusted one man so completely that they allowed him to permanently alter their bodies, years before the comet ever arrived, on the promise of something they could not see, touch, or prove. That is the real story of Heaven's Gate. Not the Nike sneakers, not the purple shrouds, not even the comet. The real story is how one man, with a compelling enough narrative, can make intelligent people do absolutely anything. Heaven's Gate website is still online today, exactly as they left it in 1997. 2 surviving members, who missed the suicide because they were not present that day, have maintained it ever since. They still believe. They are still waiting for the next sign. 39 people died in that mansion believing they were going somewhere better. Marshall Applewhite spent over 2 decades constructing a world so convincing, so internally consistent, so emotionally satisfying, that the people inside it had no reason to leave and no way to see the walls. That is not stupidity. That is not weakness. That is what happens when a human being's need for meaning meets a person who is willing to provide it at any cost. The most dangerous people in history are rarely the ones who force you to follow them. They are the ones who make you want to. Next time, we go inside the Waco siege. 51 days. 1 man. And a fire that the world is still arguing about today. Subscribe so you don't miss it.